Hi, it's Jade and welcome to the first actual book review video on my channel. Today I will be talking about Illuminy by Amy Kaufman. This is the first book in the Illuminy files. I am going to do the other two as well, but I figured considering how long my videos tend to be anyway, I'm going to stick to one book per video. I'm going to split this video into sort of like 3 or 4 parts. I'm going to give you a general synopsis of the first book with as few spoilers as possible, and then my general feelings, which with also as few spoilers as possible. We're then going to go into spoiler territory, so I will let you know as soon as we've hit spoiler territory. If you do not want spoilers for this book, absolutely fine. I will give you like a time code that you can skip to the end of the video where I just wrap up everything. Illuminy is the first book in the Illuminy Files series. It is a sci-fi survival horror is the way I would describe it, but it's not horror in that you won't be able to like sleep at night or anything. It's horror in the way that I find a lot of space horror is, in that it's just incredibly tense, and because so much can go wrong in space, you're just like, what else can go wrong? And oh god, they've got this other thing to think about as well. And it does that kind of feeling of dread very well, but it's not like a book that will just like make you not be able to sleep at night. I do keep saying just Amy Kaufman for this, I just realised, but it's Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff wrote this book together. It's not in the same way that, say, Good Omens, which was written by both Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, in that you can sort of tell which bits were written by who, but that could be that I'm not well versed enough in both of these authors' writing styles to catch which one is which. So the general plot of the Illuminy files is that in this book we start off on the illegal mining colony of Krenza, which is a small planet on the edges of nowhere, that, as I said before, it's illegal, so it's not really protected by much or on many people's radars. But because it is a mining colony, the miners also have their family and everything there, so it's a fully functioning society. So the main characters in this, Cady Grant and Ezra Mason. First of all, props to Mean Girls in allowing me to actually know how to pronounce Cady's name, because it's spelled the same as Cady in Mean Girls. Anyway, they are high school students, so they're not minors, they don't work on the colony, they're just children of miners. But anyway, the book starts with Krenza being blown up by a big warship that is piloted by Biotech Industries. Biotech Industries have sent a big warship to blow up this mining colony. We don't know why at the beginning. We also know that because it is an illegal mining colony, you can't necessarily expect help from like the intergalactic police, as it were. But during this attack, Cady Grant and Ezra Mason managed to escape on the one of the planet's 2 escape ships. They just so happen to have escaped on separate ships, which right now they're quite happy about because they broke up with each other that morning and they don't really want to be talking to each other. However, as these ships are trying to escape, the Biotech Industries warship is now hunting them down because they need to wipe out anyone who was there to see this attack. So you have that where you've got this massive, ship of death slowly tracking you down, and it's going to reach you eventually. And at this point, Cady realises that one of the only people that's going to be able to help her get through this is Ezra. 1, she doesn't know if he's still alive. 2, he's on a different ship. 3, she's still mad at him, so she doesn't really want to be talking to him, but he's kind of her only hope at this point. And she's also his only hope. And if the big angry warship that wants to kill you is not bad enough, it turns out that on this, pressurized vessel with limited air supply, there is now an airborne virus that is turning people insane and making them incredibly violent that they have to deal with. And to top it all off, the ship's AI is now acting a bit weird. So it's one of those where you're like, God, could anything else go wrong? And then something else goes wrong. Those big plot beats, I wouldn't necessarily consider spoilers. They would be something that I'd want someone to tell me that would, get me interested in this book. But overall, general thoughts, incredibly tense book, but also incredibly funny book. The way that Amy and Jay write this, it's sardonic humour and it's hilarious. Katie Grant is like this whip-smart hacker chick who is just so sarcastic, and it's great. And as a main character, I'm super happy to be following her. It also, I think, works as a great jumping off point for this series. I do think the subsequent books are almost better than this one, but even as a standalone, if you didn't want to read the rest of the series, this is still really good and really tense, all the way through. I will also say, although I haven't listened to it, I have heard that the audiobook for this is really good and is a full cast audio, and is very cinematic the way it's done. Although, to be honest, I feel like reading certain bits of this, and I will show you later what I mean, you would get more from physically reading this book as opposed to listening to it. But I'm not saying that the audiobook is not worth listening to. I just haven't listened to it, so I can't personally give my stamp of approval on that. Okay, now on to spoiler territory. And as you can see, I have tabbed quite a few pages in this book. A lot of these are different types of multimedia within this, but into more detailed plots of this book, and I will describe things that I'm enjoying as we go through. When you first start this book, you find out that the Illuminy group is actually a not Black Ops, what's the word? Hacker group, maybe? Not necessarily working within the law, who have compiled evidence of the events that happen on Corenza, which is what I mean when I say multimedia, in that this is not written like a novel. You read the story through a mixture of interviews, DMs, written surveillance footage, someone transcribed surveillance footage. You have you have passenger dossiers, you have doctor's notes, you have AI transcripts, and so many more different types of things in here. You have posters from on board the ship. You have ship schematics and stuff like that. And each one has been utilised in a way that either builds tension, I think, where is it? Let's try and find the right sticky, shall we, for this? Yes, so there are certain things, for example, I hope that I've figured out the lighting enough that you can actually see this. This is a poster on board one of the rescue ships talking about hygiene, and it's a little kid-friendly, help Astromarine Tim win the fight against the space bugs by following these simple rules, and saying wash your hands, wear a face mask, and such and such. That when you first encounter this, you're a bit oh, that's just a nice little quirky thing that's just been included in here that you would see on big spaceships that people are going to be living on for a while, because it is an enclosed area, and if you did have an outbreak of something, it's not like you get fresh air to stop this from circulating. It's going to go in the vents, and how are you going to stop this? And it's not until later on that you realise, oh, that was some good foreshadowing there. The Illuminy group has compiled this entire dossier of material, and they're sending it to someone who's only known as the director. And if you watched my 25 favourite first lines video, this has one of my favourite first lines in it, which is, "So here's the files that almost killed me, director." So straight away you're a bit like, ooh, this is going to be interesting. And so, yeah, the first page is just letting you know that these have been compiled by the Illuminy group, but also they have censored all swear words, which still appear, but they're like blacked out. So I had a lot of fun reading, just inserting my own swear words whenever I got to that point. And straight away you get like the sardonic humour of this book from the line, "Some written materials were censored by the UTA and had to be reconstructed by our contacts, though profanity remains censored as per your instruction. Sure, the story kicks off with the deaths of thousands of people, but God forbid there be cussing in it, right?" That's what you are getting through the whole thing. And this is something that Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff do very well, because I am just reading the first book in their other series that they also worked together on, which is written as more of a regular novel. There are also like a few sort of like Wikipedia type entries in there, but it's not enough for me to call it a multimedia book. Either way, but their other series, the Aurora Cycle, which once I finished it, if people want a review on that, happy to do it. But that same kind of irreverent humour is in that as well, that I really like. It's just, I don't know if maybe it's the English part of me, which is all of me, but sarcasm, when it's written well in books, it gets me every time. I'm going to say right at this moment, the word chum is apparently on this planet, it's like mate, friend, dude, whatever. But I read it so many times in this book that it just started to grate on me. So that is one point in the negative file, is that I just, by like halfway through this book, I was like, stop saying chum. I don't like it. It doesn't work. Stop it. This is, I think, one of the benefits of a multimedia type book, is that we've got like a Wikipedia article that can give you a bit of an info dump without it feeling like an info dump, which is hard to do in a novel, in that you need to get a lot of information across, but you want it to happen organically. In something that is working as a dossier for evidence, like in a court or something like that, you just need to give them the evidence. It doesn't matter what context it comes in. So I'm reading all of this background all of a sudden, and I'm like, still fits. Like, it's not like it's ruining the narrative. This is another thing that works really well in multimedia, is emphasising emotions and stuff, in the fact that we have this entire exchange through like a progress report written by Ezra, and then it trails off and he's talking about the time when it actually blew up, and the last line is all of it happening in perfect absolute, and then just on a page all by itself is just the word silence. And it makes it feel so cinematic, even though you're reading a book. And then in a way that, once again, that just kind of, it really helps solidify the feelings. You then get 6 pages of names of the people that were aboard the Copernicus that died during that battle, and then it wasn't even a battle because no one was fighting back. And then you get a collage of all the faces of the people that died. And it's just small touches like that that makes this book so unique. And I'm going to keep using that word, unique, and so emotive, and it just makes the tension and just the emotions and everything so much more, because it is as close to a movie as reading a book is going to get. This is great. This is the way they do their dogfights and their out of ship things in all of these books, is that people's communications with each other, this is like the backdrop of space, are following the lines of the way that they are fighting and the way that they are going around it. So you can feel the movement in this book. You can feel the tension, what's going on, and as people are getting more panicked and things are starting to like, it feels like a rush because you're struggling to figure out which one of these you should be reading first, and all you're getting is like negative, I can't see him, hold still, fire, someone's got to get this guy off of me, like there's someone on my tail, that type of thing. So you know that there's just like a massive fight going on. Yes, and then in we're getting close to the end, and like literally all through this, my heart has been like in my throat, and I'm like, can they not have a break? Like for 5 seconds, can they not just have a break? It's like, no, you shot down the Lincoln's engines for a bit, but now there's a virus, so you got to deal with that. And it's like, okay, great. And now it's like, yeah, now the virus has taken over basically everything, and they buggered the life support systems, and the Lincoln's back, so good. And it's like, oh my god. I got this same feeling when I was watching Gravity, where I'm just like, oh my god. And which is why it's good that this is in multimedia, because it's very quick to read, because you have pages where this just says the Lincoln arrives repetitively in the shape of the Lincoln ship. Whereas like a page this big, if it was full text, would take you a couple of minutes. And but it's so good because you're like, at this point, Aiden has broken down so much, we don't know how far away the Lincoln is. It's like a percentage sign and an at. And you're like, what? How far away is it? Oh, it's here. Cool. Next page. And this is, in like the fewest words, so epic. You've got the Lincoln arrives, and then 2 almost black pages it says, I turn to face it. No, not I. And then the next page, I'm shaking, by the way. We, in the shape of the Alexander. Okay, so, fate does not want me to finish this video for some reason. I apologise if the lighting has changed. It's like an hour later. I had a phone call from my bank that took so long. And I've like forgotten where I was. I think what I was doing was just summing up my thoughts on this book. And I'm probably repeating myself, but yes, I thought it was super cinematic. Definitely a good setup for the next books. Even though this one was absolutely amazing, the other ones, which I will do reviews of, are like even better. Definitely give it a go reading it. As I said earlier, the audiobook is a full cast audiobook, and I imagine it's like a good like audio movie quality type thing, considering what they have to work with. But I would also recommend, if you can, reading the physical book. I'm speaking quickly because I feel like there's something else that's going to come in and be like, no, you will not finish this video. But yes, as far as like sci-fi survival horror goes, absolutely great. Characters were believable. Like the main characters were believable. There was a few times when dialogue felt a little bit generic and stilted, but that was mostly in like background characters, so it didn't bother me that much. Yeah, just great setup for like what's going on, and yet still can work as like its own story, really. Until the next time, bye.